Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the session on AI-powered rights and royalties by Vistex. I'm Steve. This is my colleague Jake, and we are delighted to be here to give you our take on how AI on top of rights and royalties can be transformative for a content business, and also give you a flavor of what that looks like in our solution. First, quick who or what is Vistex? So, long story short, we are a large global software company with a 27-year history in this space. We have over 1,000 customers, including over 400 using our rights and royalty suite. And everything we do is enterprise grade. So that's scalable and highly configurable. And our rights and royalty solution is the only solution on the market covering all IP rights in all their complexity. So that's in a single platform. So that's whether that's media, brand licensing, music, publishing, book publishing, or patent IP. We serve all segments of the film and TV space, from studios through to broadcasters and OTT platforms. And as you can see, the solution covers everything that you would expect to see in terms of content management, rights management, royalties, and analytics, as well as integration with all upstream and downstream systems. So, as we're all aware, media companies are in something of a profitability crisis, which to a certain extent is of their own making because they're actually sitting on a gold mine of content. And we believe the rights and royalties plus AI is exactly what's needed to unlock all that value. So what's happening is as the streamers' subscriber growth has plateaued and for the studios, viewership is ever more fragmented across devices, platforms, and formats. More than ever now, the focus has sharpened on return on content. So how can I get more out of my content investments? One estimate that I've seen is that there's actually north of $500 billion in unmonetized value sitting in the libraries and archives of just the studios alone. And this is content that has value, has potential to be exploited, and for which there is a market, but that market remains out of reach. Another estimate is that more than 60% of all the rights of all finished content never achieves any revenue at all and instead sits in costly archives gathering dust. The more fragmented the viewership, the more endpoints there are, the more opportunity there is to repackage and repurpose this content for new audiences. And added to that, in terms of the margin on exploitation, there's 10%. I mean, I believe that's also a conservative estimate, but 10% of that margin on average is wasted due to manual process and ready to be recaptured by AI. So I think of AI as like a treasure map for your content library. So if you imagine, your content is like a chest full of gold, decades of licensing history, untapped content, and hidden margin, but nobody has the map to find it. AI just doesn't just hand you the map; it literally draws it in real time, marks every X, and tells you which treasure is worth digging up first. Not only leading you to the treasure, but giving you the tools to dig it up with minimal effort. And the opportunities from this are, in general terms, are very clear. To power better decision making around content, to use all the rich data for better forecasting, to automate all those tricky, sticky workflows that hold up getting that revenue in, and also to democratize and scale the tribal knowledge that comes with decades-old systems and processes. So in specific terms, we're going to show you three AI features in our software today. One on the automation side, contracts and transactional data ingestion. So these are currently big headaches and manual processes for everyone who holds any content rights at all. Secondly, instant self-service analytics to bring management level reporting out of the data and surface insights. And then third is a practical example of how AI can get to better content sales and marketing decisions. So that's our Smart Avails tool.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So we're going to first talk about our data flow. So this is a smart engine that will ingest any input of any type of data type or what have you. It understands both structure and intent, so you're able to really upload any type of data, and it maps these data fields and transforms them automatically, which is really a pretty cool thing, and it eliminates a lot of manual process. So there's no templates, there's nothing for your IT team to set up, and it's a business user ready case. And it's going to be ready for the legacy and new contract data as well, because you have a lot of you might be sitting on a lot of paper contracts and it has to do a lot of manual upload. This is going to solve that for you. So Excel files, PDFs, even images or API connections, whether they're structured or messy, the solution can handle them all. Basically, all you have to do is just upload a file, snap a photo, or send an email. And it's really easy to get data in. It's super user friendly. And we're actually going to show you a demonstration on how this works. So we have this little video here. This is a PDF of an agreement between a licensee and a licensor, Big Time Media and Vistex Films. So basically what we're doing here is we're just highlighting some of the key areas that the solution is going to look at to upload this data. So what we're kind of doing is we're training an LLM to look for these keywords and phrases to figure out what they need to upload. Because as you well know, every contract is a little bit different, right? And not everything is going to be in the same structure. So that's where the solution really shines, is it's able to, regardless of the format, it's able to upload all of this information because of the keywords and phrases that it's looking at, especially when it comes to things like rights. When we look at the screen here in just a minute, after we look at this title and the term, you're going to see this we're going to see this rights area. That's a lot of information that normally would have to be manually input, but our system is going to do that automatically. So this is basically how it would work. A user would go in, they would select the file type that they want to upload, and they would go ahead and just browse out to the file, and they can go ahead and submit it through. And basically just what it's going to do is it's going to read through that entire 23-page contract, and it's going to spit out the relevant data. Now, our solution, for those who may not be super familiar, we are a revenue management system surrounded around contract management. So within this, we're going to get an agreement request where we're able to see the different rules that were parsed from that document into our solution. So we're just seeing here that the agreement request was created, and we can then go ahead and actually find it in the system by just doing a simple search, and it's going to pull up the document that we had uploaded parsed into our system. So we can see here in these rules that it shows the title group. So these are all of the titles that were uploaded from Big Time Media. We could see the dates there, the currency, there's a program, there's validity periods, and we can see these are all of the titles that existed in that contract that were uploaded here. And then we can also see in our sets all of the different dimensions that came from that rights chart that we saw there, like TV on demand, the territories, the language, all of that was uploaded by itself, and including the dates as well. Not only does it grant the rights, but it also shows the fees. All of the different fee schedules that were listed on that agreement show up here, like that 12,000. And we can also do these in different currencies. So this is just our the contract currency. We could do this in local currency. Like Steve said, our solution is enterprise level, so we can do this in a global scale. Right? And so then you have the royalty rates as well. And then we have some other areas here, like the calculation flow. That's the engine in which our royalties are calculated. And once it's ready, you can go ahead and submit or edit if you need to make changes. So we can always show you a little bit more if you stop by our booth later. That's just a very quick overview. But I'd like to move on to the next section as we're already halfway through our talk today. So the next is AI-enabled reports and dashboards that will simplify your strategic analysis. So you're able to see these in a graphical interface. You can leverage existing data models within the solution, create calculated columns, and analyze results before they're published. And this graph here, this is just kind of a little 8, if you will, of how the back end kind of works. It's a very actually simple thing to set up that as long as a data source exists in your solution, you can actually configure this yourself as a non-technical user. So it's a really, really user-friendly thing. So you're also able to utilize our conversational AI that allows results to be archived more quickly. So you can query data. You can ask it a simple question in natural language. You can apply filters, change layouts, save bookmarks, even create alerts and schedules so that if I want my report to go out once a week to a specific number of people, I can set that up, and I can do it by using natural language. And then, of course, we can also utilize data literacy to see, like, what is the purpose of this dashboard? If I'm looking at something and I need to know what the reason I'm looking at it is for, I can certainly do that. So let's see how it works. So here we have just a basic dashboard. And we're going to go in and we're going to use the Vistex Assistant, and we're going to ask it a couple of things about how to make us some nice, insightful, and meaningful graphics. So the first is create a pie chart that shows royalties by right type. So I've asked it just a very simple question, and it says, okay, I've done that for you. And we can see that it appears here. And we can always configure these. We can interact with them as well. Another one we're seeing here is create a bar chart that shows top 5 media agreements by royalty amount. It's pretty impressive, something that you definitely need to see. We can also create a bar chart that shows top 5 titles by royalty amount. So you can see not only the agreements, but also the titles, right? We not only can do charts, we can do KPIs, we can do other units of measure. There's a lot of different things that you can do. These are just some very basic and generic examples. But basically, this assistant allows you to kind of really take the sky's the limit approach, right? If you can think about it, you can create it. And not only on top of that, but we can also change the chart if we wanted to maybe see it in a different format. Normally, you would go in and you can configure it and change it yourself, but why do it myself if the assistant could do it for me, right? So we can actually ask it to do that, and it will, which is really, really handy. So not only do we have this capability for dashboards, but we also have this capability system-wide. So you can query the system and ask it questions outside of the charts here, and it will return answers for you based on what it can see in the system. So some pretty cool stuff, I think. All right, now I'm going to hand it back over to Steve. He's going to take the rest of it. We're going to talk a little bit about smart avails.
All right. So the third item we want to show you is avails. And so the focus of avails traditionally in a content and rights system has been to inform the business of what you can and cannot do with your content and rights. And that's traditionally a back office function involving quite long reports and a lot of manual interpretation. In our own solution, in fact, our classic avails engine allows users to search on any field in their titles and their rights dimensions, but it's really focused on that question only, which is what titles can I use here, where and how can I exploit those titles? With AI, we can immediately change that question to what should I do? So, and we do that quite simply by tapping into all of the other sources of data that might exist in and around our solution, private and public, on the content and the customers, and also leveraging natural language and machine learning to provide recommendations. So, I'll quickly show you this in our Insight Studio tool. So Insight Studio is a dedicated tool that's focused on deeper analysis of data sources that are available. So you first of all select the data sources that you want to look at, and then you start an interactive session to analyze data in those sources. This is separate from our assistant that we've just seen because it contains specific UX for analytics. So I'm asking the system a question specific to availability. It's around titles that are available in Germany for theatrical and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, whoever he is. So the system is going to look at those data sources. There's a source for titles and a source for availability. It's going to compare and join data in those sources, and it's going to give me a result that shows that I have Terminator 2 Judgment Day and the Terminator, and it shows the the dimensions of availability that I can then go and exploit. Slightly more advanced question: what are my highest box office movies available for on demand in Germany? So this is again, a situation. Think about a specific buyer that you might be talking to. They might be doing a specific series or a specific kind of theme in their content. You can ask the solution a question related explicitly to that theme, or explicitly to what you know that buyer wants in general. So this is going to rank my results by box office. Obviously, in this demo solution, I have a lot of titles available to me, but Avatar, for example, and the Avengers and so on. So third question here, I'm going to look at titles that are available for on demand in Germany and with award-winning directors. So this is quite a complex one. It's looking at titles, it's looking at their directors, and then it's going out into the wider universe of titles and looking at those directors, what they've also done, whether they've won any awards, and then bringing back that result. And the answer is, we have, again, quite a lot of titles. Back to the Future. And these are all the dimensions of availability, and you get the data that supports your query. So the directors and the director awards that form part of that. So yeah, quite a lot of different awards in this data set. So we envision that this would be used to, with a lot of different data sources, sentiment data, for example, around the titles, demand data or demand indicators around the data. So, and this last piece of the video just shows how we can also embed that same UI and that same natural language interface into a more use case specific UI that is focused on content. So this is going to give me the same sort of results, but give it to me in a way that, is something that I can interact with more easily. And then also dig into availability, and I can actually then use this to create a deal in the backend contract system after the fact. So it really shortens that particular workflow around sales, where you're looking for content, you're looking to exploit that content at specific markets, or you might be looking to exploit that content directly on your own channels or your own fast channels or VOD platforms. But you want to do it in the best way possible. And this shortens that workflow of going to back office, asking a question, and then getting a result back. So that's all we wanted to show you today, and we are 2 minutes under time. So if there are any questions in the audience right now, we're happy to take those. Alternatively, please come over to our booth. We are right over there at the end of this corridor here, and we can, do a deep dive on any topic you like.
There we go. You were talking about not having to worry about our IT. I'm just wondering what safety precautions do you have? Is there any kind of protection of data?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Our AI tools are all, I guess, enterprise ready. And we have a lot of detail on that, kind of what we offer in regards to protecting your data, but we're never going to send the contents of contracts to an external LLM. So that's one thing. The data analysis will be done, in the private cloud, and then that data then is mapped to the format that you want to ingest it in. But in any data that you want to keep, obviously, contract data is very highly confidential. That's not going to leave your premise. No, and the last thing we want to do is train AI models on contract data. That's the last thing we want to do. All right. Any other questions? Okay, that's a wrap. As I said, please come over to 2755 just down there. And we're here until Wednesday. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much.